feel like this is so close to my face. The lighting is probably trash, but it's fine. We're gonna get this done. 2 wrap-ups in 1 month. Am I the procrastinating queen? Mayhaps. Mayhaps. So for the month of February, I read 7 books. February was also Black History Month, so I also had books for Blackathon, which I tried to follow and failed at. I read the books, but I was not following along for the readathon. Unfortunately, I was super busy. It was insane, and it was insane. But I felt like I read a lot. So yeah, for the month of February, I read 7 books. So let's talk about the books that I read. Honestly, I feel like February was a really, really good reading month. I had so many books that I loved so much, and I really picked books that I was excited to read or books that have been burning a hole in my TBR. So finally reading those books was just like, felt so good. So let's talk about the books that I read for February. The first book that I read in the month of February was Queenie. I gave this book 5 stars. I checked this book out at the library, but I mainly read it through audiobook. I mainly listened to it, and I think that really made it so much more fun, but I think I would have equally enjoyed it if I read it physically. Queenie follows this book about a 25-year-old that is ending a long-term relationship, and she is kind of going downhill from losing that relationship, and a lot of things in her life are changing, and old traumas are starting to uproot in her life and causing her to act out of character. She is really bored at her job. She doesn't feel like she's making a change or doing what she specifically wants to in that field. She also has small family issues and friend issues and dating issues, so she's really just trying to refigure out her life and get back on top, because she's definitely falling down hard. I liked Queenie. I really liked Queenie. I felt like her character was a mess. Like, she had a lot going on, and just with the way that her life, the things that was going on in her life, I feel like triggered a lot of things that she didn't deal with in the past. And I feel like she suffered from PTSD, and the PTSD or the traumatic experiences that happened so early in her childhood really kind of just attached itself to her as an adult, and she started slowly drifting into really bad anxiety, unhealthy relationships with men, unhealthy relationships with women. Her friendships, though, I loved her friendships. I loved the family aspect. I don't know, it was sad. Like, the further on the book got, the more sad I got. I think I like teared up at the end of the book. I can't remember if I cried or I just teared up, but I'm pretty sure like I was like near the verge of breaking down at the end of the book, because it just was sad. Like, the mother-daughter relationship was not the best. Her workplace was not the best, but I felt like everybody that was surrounding her was like rooting for her, and I feel like she was like a kind of person that really needed space when they were dealing with something as serious and life-altering as multiple things that she was dealing with. So her friends kind of gave her that space, but they still checked in on her. I also like the way mental health in the Black community was talked about, because it's something that is very frowned upon. Like, we're just supposed to be gung-ho and supposed to like push through any dark days or any issues that you have as far as like depression or PTSD. Like, it's not something that's talked about at all in Black families, like at all. Like, we don't talk about it. Like, showing weakness is like society wise, like when it comes to Black families or when it comes to Black people, especially Black women, I feel like showing weakness is something that is not talked about enough. So I feel like seeing this character going through so much and willing to go into therapy and willing to try to build herself up and break through was really interesting to see, and I was rooting for her the whole time. It was sad though, because I felt like she was fighting with herself to try to break through to the other side. It was sad, but I loved her character. I loved how hard she worked to be a better person, and just everything that she was dealing with in her late 20s, she felt like was going opposite of what she expected to be going on in her life, which is like relatable for a lot of us, because you have these plans of what you think is going to happen, and it doesn't always specifically happen that way. And just seeing her shift and change and alter all of the things that she was dealing with was good. I don't know, I love this book. I think my favorite part of the whole book though was definitely the friendships. Some of her friends were not the best, like, at all. I really liked her best friend, and she was fun. So yeah, I gave this book 5 stars. It was phenomenal. Loved it. Loved it very much. Okay, so the second book that I read in the month of February was the Ikata Witch, and I gave this book 3 stars. It was good. It was good, okay? Don't come with the pitchforks, alright? So this book is a middle grade book. It follows the main character. Her name is Sunny, who was originally from New York and now she lives in Nigeria. Just based off her appearance, a lot of the kids do not want to be friends with her. They kind of just like bully the shit out of her and are really rude to her. So she ends up befriending 3 kids named Orlu, Chichi, and Sasha. And once she befriends them, she finds out about this magical world and magical history of the leopard people, which she has a connection to because she does hold magic within herself as well. Her family is tied to it, so she finds out more about that, and the group of them form a little clique, and they find out more about their magic. They build more on their powers, and they're kind of after this villain within their land by the name of Black Hat Okatu, and he's kind of kidnapping and maiming and stealing powers from children. So they're after him, and that is what this book follows. So I like this book for the most part. I feel like you could definitely tell it was a middle grade. I honestly think I need to steer away from middle grade books because some people that are like my age or older can read middle grade books and still enjoy them, but I don't think I can do it. Like I struggle. I mainly listen to this on audiobook, and I feel like that was really well done. I think because I struggle with it because mainly it was a middle grade, but it still was a good book. I had issues following like what was going on like within the magical system. Like I couldn't remember how her family was connected to the leopard people, but for the most part I liked the little group. I liked Chi-Chi a lot. I think she was my favorite character. She was so bold and living out loud, and nobody knew how old she was. I also liked the way that she was brought up by her mother, just surrounded by books and traveling and doing whatever she wanted, and she never really went to school. Orlu was like the voice of reason. He was aggravating as hell sometimes, but he was definitely needed. Sasha was like the hothead of the group, and I feel like later in the series he's gonna be really powerful. So I liked him too. He was from Chicago, and I don't know, I liked their little group. I liked everything about it, but I kind of forgot about the whole plot of the story was the fact that they were after this villain, because I was so focused on them building their powers and growing as magic dwellers that I completely forgot that they were after somebody, because it kind of took a back seat. Like there would be little hints of them still going after this person, and they were still trying to track him down, but it wasn't like a main focus, so I kind of forgot about it. And then when it was brought back up, I was like, oh yeah. And it kind of was like fast paced towards the end. Like towards like the last quarter of the book, it was more focused on like the villain, I guess, and I kind of really didn't care. Like I would have rather just the book focused on them learning about their magic, them trying out magic together and building their little clan. Like I would have appreciated that more, and maybe in the second book they could have like gone after the villain. I feel like I would have enjoyed that a little bit better, but I didn't write the book, so you know, what can I say? The next book that I read in the month of February was Sulwe, and this is a children's picture book written by the actress Lupita, and I love this book so much. I'm just like slowly collecting all of the children books for like my future kids that I have no idea when I'm having, but the children books are just like stacking up, and this is definitely one of them. So this book follows the main character. Her name is Sulwe, and she is a younger child who sees her sister being appreciated more by the people around her. All her friends and stuff like that in school are really, really nice to her, and her sister is of a lighter complexion, and Sulwe has a really dark, rich, beautiful complexion, but she feels like people would be nicer to her if she looked like her sister. So it kind of follows her struggling with the way that she looks and her color and colorism within the black community, and then she goes on like this magical journey where she learns to love herself, and it just was really cute. It was precious. The pictures were so beautiful. Like the illustrations were amazing. I loved it so much, and yeah, I gave this book 5 stars obviously, but it was just phenomenal. Like 5 stars across the board. Within like the first like 2 pages I was ready to cry, because if you don't know, I have 2 nieces, and every time I read a book that's like a children's book, I always think about them, and one of my nieces definitely reminds me of Sulwe, and just reading that, it made me so sad to just see someone struggle so much with their image and not being able to do anything about the fact that they're a darker complexion, and you should not feel like you have to. This was sad. It was so sad. It was so sad. It made me want to cry, but it was yeah, it was precious. It was just a picture book, but your girl was ready to cry within like the first 2-3 pages. love that for me. But yeah, I loved it so much. I gave it 5 stars. It was sad, it was beautiful, it definitely focused a lot on learning to love the beauty within yourself. Okay, so the next book that I read, I just want to lean on something. I am so tired. I'm like struggling right now. It's fine. I'm just gonna push through. Okay, so the next book that I read for the month of February was The Deep, and this book follows the main character. Her name is Yetu, and she has grown up in, she's grown as struggling right now. So it follows the main character. Her name is Yetu. They're kind of like sirens, but her people are derived from slaves that were thrown overboard and still alive, and they survived underwater and created their own world. Because of the trauma, the past trauma of their history, good, bad, ugly, everything in between, they've decided as a group that they don't want to all remember it, so they specifically assigned one person as the historian to remember everything that happened in their past. And Yetu is the historian, but you don't really get to say yes or no. Like once you get chosen to be the historian, like that's it, that's your job. Like you don't have a choice. So Yetu honestly really didn't want to be a historian. She kind of just wanted to live a normal life and just like venture off and do things that she liked to do. But because she had this huge responsibility, she was like in control of all the remembrances and history of her people, and it was a lot of pressure to put on one specific person. So she broke free. Okay, she got the hell up out of there. She went on land, and she kind of just like escaped from all of her responsibilities, and she learned so much when she went on land, and she later does return. But that is what this story mainly follows. I gave this book 4 stars. I kind of feel like it was a 3.5 for me, but you know how Goodreads be doing us with the half stars. We still can't do half stars, so I just gave it 4 stars. And honestly, the ending where the author's note was kind of explaining the book a little bit more kind of pushed me towards 4 stars anyway. I feel like the writing style was very vague, and I had a rough time following this book in the beginning, especially reading it physically. I didn't know what the hell was going on because it alters between like current current events and the past history, and it doesn't really say this is the past, this is the current. Like it doesn't really let you know when they switch. It just kind of switches like between chapters. So I was having a rough time trying to follow that, especially because like the specific narration was kind of vague. Like I didn't really know if Yetu was narrating or if we were going back in time. So your girl was struggling. So when you struggle, you have to pick up the audiobook. So that's what I did. I feel like it helped me a lot more when I actually listened to it, because I was able to discern like what was going on. But for the most part, I liked the premise of the book. I liked Yetu as the MC, but I really liked Ori a lot. Ori is someone that Yetu met when she went on land, and she just was like, she was just so badass. Like she just was, she worked so hard towards like keeping the memories of like her people, even though her people were no longer around. She was just rough. Like I felt like she just was like really cutthroat. Like she just was very blunt. I was really rooting for a little bit of a romance there, but it kind of really didn't happen. But your girl was in the corner rooting for them. I was just cheering them on, but it didn't happen. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. I don't know. I feel like the writing style was disconnected on purpose, and you weren't supposed to feel close to the characters. So I don't know. I have like mixed feelings about the book, but I enjoyed it for the most part. Okay, so the next book that I read, I'm so excited to talk about this book. So this book is A Blade So Black. Now, I know it's a little early, but I might have to say this is one of my favorite reads of the year. Like honestly, I love this book so much. I give it 5 glowing, bright, beautiful, shimmering stars. And I love this book so much. I mainly listen to this one on audiobook too. I feel like a lot of these books this month I really just listen to on audiobook, but I feel like this book especially definitely enhanced the reading experience of listening to the different voices that the narrator did. They did so well, and it just was like so much fun. So if you don't know, this book follows the main character. Her name is Alice, and she has grown up in Atlanta, and she lives a normal life until she loses her father, and nightmares start coming for her in her dreams, like really coming for her. And then she finds out about this world called Wonderland, and she goes there, and she finds out that she's the dream catcher, and she kind of goes into like this fantastical alternate universe, and Hatter is her teacher. He's like teaching her, molding her, training her, and it just follows their journey, and just like it's pretty much like a spin-off of Alice in Wonderland. Like, it's like a retelling of Alice in Wonderland, only black girl magic at an all-time high. And I just I'm smiling so hard talking about this book. I loved it so much. I feel like the narrator did such a great job, especially doing the narration of the black mom's voice. Like, your girl was having backflashes, okay? Like, it was so relatable. I love fantasy books so much, but I feel like I struggle a lot with how gullible and aggravating and stupid a lot of the main characters are, because I'll see them do something and I'm like, I would not do this. Like, if I was the main character in a fantasy world, like, I would not do this. Like, where is the common sense, sis? And then this character comes along and she just gives me everything that I've been asking for. Like, she has all the common sense. Like, she's not falling down no black holes. She speaks her mind. She's a hothead. She just works really hard. She makes a lot of mistakes, but she owns up to them. She tries her best. She's really trying hard to balance like her regular life and her responsibility in the fantasy world. And I just loved her so much. I just loved how sassy she was. I loved how hard she worked to keep her friendships. I loved how she always spoke her mind. Like, if she did not like something, she was going to say it. Like, if something was bothering her, she was going to say it. I loved just everything about it. Like, the setting of Atlanta wasn't really too strong, but you understood that this was like the regular world and this was the fantasy world. I love the description of the fantasy world. Every time something was explained, I could literally see it, and the characters were so well explained. There was a lot of diversity in there. There was some cute little moments. Your girl was just swooning in the corner, like swooning, okay? It was just so many moments that were just like relatable, especially growing up black, like a black kid, relatable. So I love this so much. Like, she's out here fighting monsters, fighting nightmares, doing all this, and her mom's like, did you take that chicken out of the freezer though? Like, is the chicken out of the freezer? Like, I loved it so much. I loved it. And I felt like nothing was missing. I feel like usually when like you read like a fantasy book or a book that's really heavy and like page count, that certain things take more of a front like spotlight. Like, the focus is more on one thing specifically, and other things slowly start falling behind. But I feel like in this book, everything that was important was always focused on, and just like, the friendship didn't fall behind, the family aspect did not fall behind, her training didn't fall behind, the fantasy world didn't fall behind. Every time something was happening, spotlight still shone on other things that were happening within the story, and like nothing fell short of like, it just the flavor in this book. I just loved it so much. I never went so fast to Barnes & Noble to try to get the second book, but they did not have it. It's okay. I'm gonna get it eventually. I love this book so much. I'm so excited for the second one. And yeah, I really enjoyed her as a character. I enjoyed everything about this world, and it just was phenomenal. Okay? Phenomenal. So, continuing on the Black Girl Magic, the next book that I read for the month of February was Slay, and I gave this book 5 glowing stars. I love this book as well. I actually got an arc of this from one of my friends. They got it during BookCon, and she gave it to me, and it holds a special place in my heart. This book follows the MC. Her name is Kira, and she's always been a gamer. She works really hard academically to get into a really good college, but she needs something to let loose, so she's always been into gaming. And in the gaming world, a lot of people of color aren't always accepted, or they face a lot of discriminative acts, which is really frustrating. So she said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna create my own game. How about that? So then she created her own world, her own game, and it just was like full of so much color and so much life, and all of these other black gamers come and they can make their own characters and make them as diverse as they want to, and they battle each other, and it's just like an amazing time until a conflict happens outside of the game to where these two gamers get into a fight, and one of the teenagers ends up being killed in real life. And it gets all across the news. Nobody knows that she's the creator of this game, so everybody's publicly attacking her, but not knowing who she is. And she's really struggling with what she wants to do, like if she should come forth, what she should say about it, how she feels about this happening, how she can stop it from happening again, and just everything that's being thrown at her. Also being a senior, dealing with her friends, dealing with her boyfriend, she's just being pulled in multiple directions, and she's really struggling with this happening when she felt so connected to this gaming world that she created, and she really feels like it's her fault. So this book follows her figuring out how to deal with that and what to do with the game. So I love this book so much. Like, I want this book to collab with a gaming company so bad and just make this game, because just hearing about the way the characters had all these colors and hairstyles, and they could be like mermaids, and they could be like completely covered or not wear anything at all, and just I just loved it so much because it was just so full of color, so full of life, and so diverse and so unique. And that is like the embodiment of Black culture. Like, we have so many trend-setting styles and ways of dressing and ways of doing our hair and ways of just like being ourselves, and just seeing that translated into a game where everybody just has so much fun and just lives it up. I loved it so much. I'm not a gamer myself. The only thing your girl plays is Mario. Like, that's it. I see a lot of things online that Black gamers and people of color gamers have to deal with in the gaming community. They're always being disrespected. They're always being called a specific name. Even like making characters, like she said, she wanted to make a character, and the only way she could make a character of that complexion, she had to be like a dwarf or something, which was ridiculous. So she made this world, and it just was so beautiful, and I loved it so much. I loved the way that online friendship was shown in this book as well. Like, she had a friend that was like her best friend on the gaming side, and they got a lot closer when this situation happened. I love the sister dynamic. I'm a sucker for a sister dynamic in a book because I love just seeing two sisters that are polar opposites but similar in a lot of ways. And her sister was just like hilarious. I loved everything about her. I love the topics that were brought up, the discussions between her and her friends, because two of her best friends I think they were white, but they said a lot of things that were kind of problematic and chaotic, and she constantly had to deal with that. The only thing I didn't like about this book was the damn boyfriend. From the jump, the second that he hit the page, I was like, no. Like, I did not like him. I don't know why. I just felt this vibe. I was just like, this not what we're not gonna do. Like, I don't like you. Please go away. And like, all the vibes I felt came to fruition, and they ended up coming true, and I was 100% correct with how I felt. And I love the way that whole situation was handled towards the end. I love the way that other gamers' lives were shown in the book, like little spurts of their lives, just so she could see the way that she impacted and helped so many people, even if she didn't really know them. Just like them having this escapism really helped them with any of the struggles that they were having. I loved her as a character. She was such a hard worker, but she was also struggling a lot with like who she was, what she wanted to do as far as college was concerned, whether it's what she wanted to do or what she was doing because it's her boyfriend, what her boyfriend wanted, and this whole plan that they had. I could talk about this book for hours. All in all, it was a phenomenal book. I gave it 5 stars. I loved everything about it. Okay, and the last book that I read for the month of February was I Wish You All the Best, and this book I gave 3 stars. It was a good book. Okay, don't come with the pitchforks. Again, don't come with the pitchforks, all right? This book follows our MC. Their name is Ben, and they just came out to their family as non-binary, hoping to be accepted, but when they're completely rejected, the entire conversation flips upside down. They're forced to leave home, barefoot, distraught. They call the only person that they think they can count on, and that is their sister, but the only thing is that they haven't seen them in about 10 years. So it pretty much deals with them moving in with their sister and completely uproot their lives, which is already pretty chaotic. Okay, so this book, I don't know. I feel like this book was well written. The character was interesting. It delved a lot into anxiety and therapy and learning how to deal with things that are bothering you, and how even though someone's your family does not mean you need to stay connected to them. If someone is toxic, even if they are a family member, you are not obligated to keep a relationship with that person at all. I enjoyed this book for the most part, but I feel like I wish it went a little deeper. I feel like it was very surface level. I feel like Ben was dealing with a lot, and I would have loved to learn more about their experience. Like, I wanted a little bit more of their experience. I felt like the love interest was cute or whatever, but I could have did without him, honestly. Like, I don't know why. I found the love interest a little bit annoying and a little bit unnecessary. I would have really appreciated if the book just focused on Ben, their experience with coming out, their friendship with one of their friends that's just like an online friend, and they also do like YouTube videos about being non-binary and being, I think, Muslim as well. So they're really close with them. I would have rather just had the story about their experience and their friendship, and them either deciding to stay in a relationship with their family and their mother and their father or not. and just going to school, graduating, all of that. Like, I could have did without the romance. I didn't really feel like they had much of a connection. I felt like they were kind of like friends, and I would have loved for it to go a little bit more into depth. And I felt like it was a little like jolty. I constantly felt like anxious. I felt anxious reading about them being anxious. Like, I literally felt like I was on the edge of my seat. I constantly felt like something was going wrong, but it still wasn't enough for me to be like, this is phenomenal, this is amazing. And honestly, at the end of the day, it wasn't a bad book. I feel like it's going to have a huge impact on people that are non-binary and have a direct connection to this story. I feel like it's still important and still needed, but I wish it dove a little bit, just a little bit deeper. It just was like cracking at the surface level. I just wanted to dive in a little bit more. But it was a good book. I did enjoy it. I gave it 3 stars. Honestly, I feel like it's like a 3.5. Like, it really wasn't a bad book, but it was just okay for me. I also love seeing their relationship being rebuilt with their sister and just the struggles they had together, separately, everything in between. I felt like the sister was so supportive, and I just love seeing that the way that she tried so hard to get the correct pronouns and really be there for Ben and really give them space when they needed it, but also say, like, you really need to go to therapy, like, it's best if you talk to someone, and really giving them that little push. I just love the way that they all created like a safe space around Ben. I really appreciated the way that they handled the entire situation. I honestly feel like it's 3.5 stars, but you already know how Goodreads be doing us with these half stars. They not having it. So, the month has come to an end. It's official. The wrap up is done. So the month is over. It's done. We done. We out of here. So that's it. I read 7 books. I had a lot of 5 stars. I had a few 3 stars. They all were great. I had a good reading month. Let me know what books you read for the month of February. If you had a great reading month as well. Thank you so much for watching. Always remember, read a book, keep your life interesting, and I will see you next time. Bye.